Two. That's fine. So, Scott Talley, coming to you from the worldwide headquarters of Network in Action in Houston, Texas. And we're blessed this morning to have with us Ms. Barbara Gelberd, which has a really cool company. We have probably done 40 or 50 of these blogs. And Barbara, we haven't talked to anyone like you, so welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
You're in South Carolina. What part? Columbia?
I'm in Columbia, South Carolina, and my studio, the Movement Studio, is in Five Points, which is in historic downtown Columbia.
And it's Movement Studio. So tell us real quick about the history and how you got into that.
Okay, history. I got into it by accident. I was a healthcare executive. I was traveling about 70% of the time. My body was a wreck. I was getting out of bed every morning. Everything ached and hurt. I had a frozen shoulder. I had bad hips. My husband got tired of hearing me whine, and he saw a gift certificate for 3 sessions for doing the gyrotonic method. And he said, here, try this. So I did. I walked into my teacher's studio here in Columbia, and this was about 10 years ago. And first session, I fell in love. It was just like, this is the best thing for my body that I've ever done. So I practiced just as a person, taking lessons for a bunch of years. And as I got closer to retirement, I was thinking as a healthcare person, I was going to do consulting. And I woke up one day and said, nope, I love this stuff. I'm passionate about it. It makes your body different than you ever thought it could be. I want to teach this. So I got trained as a teacher. And I actually wasn't planning to have a studio, but my teacher was here in Columbia. She was here, came here as a Martha Graham dancer from New York, taught at the University of South Carolina, raised her daughter here, and at the end of the time she lived here, she had her studio in her home. Her practice had kind of gotten smaller because she travels internationally, she teaches internationally, she dances internationally. Blessed to have her as a teacher. She made a decision she was going to move back to New York and sell her home. So there were at that point 4 teachers here in Columbia, and we needed a place to practice our craft. And I was getting ready to retire. I have a business background, so jumped in 2 feet, opened the Movement Studio a little bit over a year ago, and here we are today. And I'm really on a mission to educate the people here in Columbia about the gyrotonic method. It's been around for a while, for about 25 years, but people don't know about it.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're going to do more than educate people in Columbia today, because this is going to be all over the country. It's really interesting because I consider myself fairly well-read, and at 62, I have a 4-year-old boy, so I've got to say fairly healthy and active. And, you know, I've tried Pilates. I love yoga. So what's the difference between the gyrotonic method of way of exercising, you know, sort of what makes it unique?
There's a lot of things that make it unique, and I'll talk specifically about yoga and Pilates in a second. But kind of in an overall general way, one of the biggest things is that there are no 90-degree movements in the method. You don't lift your arm and go like that. You lift all your movements begin from your lower core, not your 6-pack, but from just right above your pubic bone. And you do movements. Everything, it requires you to use your entire body to move. And there's a lot of concentration on your lower back and your core. And the whole method, like I said, it uses spiraling motions. It stretches you. You can see I'm sitting here on a machine. You can't see the whole piece of it, but it's a specially designed machine called an expansion machine. And it uses the machine to support your body in spiraling motions, to open up your chest, open up your spine, put space in your joints. It uses weights and pulleys so that there is resistance to help you open up your joints. It was originally designed for dancers to rehab them after injuries. So that's kind of where it started. And it's
very interesting. So
I'm
I was
sorry.
going to say, I'm sorry. I was going to say, I'm sort of the opposite of you. I'm sure my wife's going to be very interested in this because she gets tired of hearing me moan about no matter what I do, I'm sore. You know, I go to
Exactly.
Pilates, go work in the backyard for 20 minutes, I'm sore. That's one of the things I've noticed by getting older.
Yep, that's how I started, and that's where a lot of my clients are at this point. There's other people who seek this out, but in terms of difference from yoga, there's the person who developed this was a yogi and a dancer. He came from Hungary, but he was born in Slovakia, I think. I may have that wrong, but he developed this sort of organically. This didn't grow out of kind of scientifically, how your bones and your joints and your big muscles move. He really developed this out of his own practice, both to heal himself and to use a lot of the movements that he had from yoga. But the difference from yoga is in yoga, you stretch and you hold the pose, or you sort of extend into it. In this method, you move all the time. Everything is about moving and flowing as opposed to getting one place and just staying there. In terms of Pilates, the biggest difference is these are spiraling motions. These machines actually had some inspiration from Pilates, but instead of going back and forth like Reformer does, and Pilates is a great way to exercise, but it builds your muscles, it builds a six-pack. It doesn't open up and connect your upper and your lower body, and it doesn't do the spiraling motions that that gyrotonic method does.
So this is a crazy question, but could you see a client supplementing the gyrotonics with a Pilates class or a yoga class? Or
Yep.
Over.
Yep. Absolutely. Many Pilates teachers become gyrotonic teachers. Very seldom do gyrotonic teachers become Pilates. Many Pilates studios have a gyrotonic machine in them. So there is enough subtle difference. And, I'm not a Pilates teacher, but I've worked and trained with Pilates teachers who have become gyrotonic teachers. And what they say is like, this is the secret sauce. This is kind of like the next thing beyond Pilates. It just takes you a little bit deeper. And there's a lot of breathing that goes on with it as well. There's very specific breathing. So your body is oxygenated while you're doing this. And again, I'm a little bit of a proselytizer here, but I have never had a client get up and say, oh man, I didn't get anything out of that. Everybody goes, oh man, I feel so good, so energized. They walk out of the studio, they feel taller, and they just feel wonderful.
Wow. Well, I'm going to get a trip to South Carolina at some point and put that on my agenda. It sounds exciting, and I can see your passion for it. What's your ideal client? Like, well, let me ask this first. Because of the machine, do I assume that there are not really classes where 15 or 18, 25 people pour in there at one time? It's more done individually. Is that right?
Not totally. I have 3 machines. There are big studios that will have up to like 10, 12 machines. I have 3. So I can do 3 people at the same time. There's a lot of hands-on work here. And it's got a different language to it. So before people can do a class with multiple people, they really have to do at least 3 sessions on their own so that I can get to know their body, or my other teachers, they can get to know their body, know where their issues are. Everybody's body is different, and we design workouts for people according to what their needs are. And then we also do a larger class called gyrokinesis. And gyrokinesis is actually where the gyrotonic method started. It's done on stools and on mats. So there's sitting positions, and then you go down on the mat to do other things. So you don't have the support of the machines, which means you do all of these movements just using your own body weight. And in some ways, that's a little bit harder until a client understands how to access some of those muscles. This works deep muscles. It doesn't work just your big, like your biceps or your quads or whatever. It works to connect those muscles down into deeper muscles, and again, to use your whole body. And gyrokinesis class is really dependent on space. You can put as many people into it as you want. I have room here for about 10 people, and it's, you move solid for an hour, and people come away again going, wow, what a workout. So
that's fantastic. And typically a client would sign up for a number of sessions, or they stay with you how long?
Depends
become a
on
lifestyle, like who get into people who get into yoga and all of a sudden they've done yoga for 2 or 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, you know, people, when you ask about an ideal client, people come for different reasons. There's a real therapeutic component to the gyrotonic method. And so people get referred by a physical therapist. Physical therapists are becoming gyrotonic teachers, get referred by chiropractors, so that chiropractors are aligning people and getting their bodies into alignment. But the gyrotonic method teaches your muscles how to hold that alignment. That's a big piece of this, is maintaining an aligned, upright body. Or they may come for an injury. A lot of people get it, historically, that's how people have gotten to gyrotonic. But people come, golfers, excuse me, golfers come because they want to get more power into their swing from, from their hips and open up their chest, and have more spiraling motions here. Younger people, athletes who are working out and getting tight. There's a lot of a general gym workout or working out with a personal trainer that gets you really tight in here, because those are the muscles you're building, and they want to add to that and get, you know, a stretch. So they may drop in and out. My clients, just because I am north of 60, excuse me, my clients particularly kind of look at me and say, oh, I want to do that. And they come and they stay. So it's a mixed bag, and people drop in and out of gyrokinesis. Just depends on what they're trying to get out of it.
Yeah, and are we going to see a wave of gyrotonic classes going across the country, like Soul Cycle and the Pilates places? And
probably not. This is not a franchise. The corporation is very tightly controlled and very rigorous in terms of our training. All they do is teach and train people to do this method correctly. And it's pretty rigorous. It takes a good year. Like, you have a year to get it all done. It's like something like 120, about 1,200, 1,300 hours of supervised training. Wow. Before you're really equipped to practice and to learn the hands-on. That's another thing I really want to stress here, is we're taught not just to tell people what to do, but to use our hands to gently guide and move people into the right position. Because if you're not doing it right, and to talk people through what muscles to access. And it tends to be concentrated in terms of where the training is into big cities. There's lots of gyrotonic in New York, in Atlanta, in DC has a big presence, San Francisco. Chicago has some big studios. There's actually a football player there that's started a studio so we can get his football players in there to, you know, to be more flexible. That's a whole piece of this. So it's a slow moving method. And most gyrotonic teachers aren't like me. I'm an anomaly. I didn't come out of the bodywork movement. I wasn't a massage therapist. I wasn't a physical therapist. I wasn't a dancer. I have a business background. And so part of my reason for doing this is to do exactly what I'm doing right now, to talk about this in terms that people can understand, not talk about it from people who really understand, and they've worked with bodies all their lives. You understand what I'm trying to say there?
Sure. Answer this as succinctly as you can. I'm a 62-year-old man. How do I know that gyrotonics is the next step for me? Maybe I've dabbled in some Pilates, I've done yoga. What would say to me, you know, scream to me, hey, you need to try gyrotonics? What's hurting? What am I feeling? What difference would I get?
You get out of the morning and you're stiff when you get out of bed. Your back hurts when you do just about anything. You may have a hip that is really painful. You have really tight hamstrings. And the thing that I would say that would get your attention is, so do you want to feel more flexible? Do you want to feel like you are stronger in your core? Do you want your back to stop hurting? Do you want your neck and shoulders to stop hurting? Come see me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I look forward to meeting you. Tell the audience how they reach you by phone and email, if you're willing.
They can reach me by phone at 803-413-6675. Or you want my email and my website?
If you like, that'd be great. Yes.
Yeah, website is scthemovementstudio.com, and they can find me on Facebook, SC The Movement Studio. They can find me on Instagram. If they're in Colombia, they can find me on Alignable. I don't know if folks if you're using alignable.com in your part of the world. I'm trying to be as out there as possible and as talking to as many people as possible. And the other thing I would say is this has been kind of a method that has been more exclusive to people who are very well heeled. It is not inexpensive, although it's about in the same range as a personal trainer. But I'm really trying to expand this and do creative things in terms of classes, in terms of creative packages that make it more accessible to everyday people who just really want to take good care of their body, particularly people who want to start a healthy aging program. People 40 and over, this is where you start to go, oops, things aren't working the way they used to work.
Yeah.
I'm not getting the same
Exactly.
thing out of my gym workout.
Well, I do a lot of these interviews, and I can clearly tell when people are passionate. And there's nothing I enjoy more than seeing and hearing someone's story. Obviously, their business background is great for your business, but the fact that you benefited from gyrotonics yourself makes the story all the more special. You've been doing some networking there. Yeah, you've been doing some networking there in South Carolina. Tell me how that's worked for you.
It has been awesome, and I'll give Dan here a plug. He knows what he's doing, and I've only been involved with NIA for about maybe a month, 6 weeks, something like that, and it has started to open up doors for me into the business community, which I wouldn't have. As I've lived here in Colombia, I've worked remotely. I've worked for East Coast companies, and I've traveled. So my business network, I have a personal network, but my business network was not wide and deep. And so this is taking me into that community. And, it's not, I get one meeting and I get a referral. It's one meeting leads to another meeting, leads to people talking about it. I'm finding it to be hugely helpful.
Yeah, that's fantastic. You've got a great leader there, and that's what it's all about. He's passionate about his members. He's passionate about helping y'all grow. When you get someone leading like that, you're going to all have success. You're going to build great relationships. So thank you so much for taking time to join us today. Appreciate it. I feel like, once again, I'm pretty well read, and I have never heard of gyrotonics. So I'm going to give a look up here in Houston and see if there's a place I can visit.
Go to gyrotonic.com, and you can search for studios by geography. And you can also get to know a little bit about the bigger international website. It'll give you a lot more information.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Have a great one.